Welcome back to another shared news from home. We are live today to talk all the latest in Bachelor Nation. As always, I'm your host, Fiona Zaring, and I'm joined by the wonderful Avery Grooms and Zachary Reality. Hello, you guys. I am so excited to be live with you both. It has been a minute. Avery, how are you?
Hello, I'm great. Happy Wednesday. It doesn't really feel like a Wednesday to me. I don't know why. Maybe just the week's going by fast, which is a good thing, but I'm great. How are you, Zach?
I am coming off a pretty rough weekend. My phone was stolen, or maybe I lost it, but either way, I'm going to play victim, so it was stolen. But, I'm really excited to talk about The Bachelorette because this is the time in the show where it actually gets interesting. We're down to like the nitty gritty. So I'm curious to hear what everyone's thoughts are because hometowns are like less than a week away or the next week after. So I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Well, Zachary, we are certainly going to do our best to turn your week around. We will get to the Bachelorette. Of course, there is a lot to talk about, but we're actually going to start today, you guys, with a pretty major update from Matt and Rachael at the 2021 ESPYs, which was their red carpet debut. They opened up to People magazine about overcoming difficult times to get to where they are today. I think we all are very aware of what difficult times they are referencing. Rachael shared, quote, "I will say that, of course it was difficult at the moment, but just being able to step back and work on our relationship to assess, taking a moment away from the spotlight's been really good for us. It's been a lot better." Matt was actually asked if he had any relationship advice to give, and he kind of laughed it off and said he doesn't think anybody needs to listen to his tips on romance. But he did go on to share a little bit of wisdom. He said, quote, "I think that I look to people who have been where I'm trying to get to." And he then actually referenced Rachel's parents' relationship, saying that they've been in a relationship for a long time. They've been married for probably about as long as he's been alive. He said, quote, "So, relationships that are prospering are what I kind of fix my eyes on and hope to emulate." Now, we know that it has been quite a journey for the two of them, and I think we talked about it a lot on this channel, that kind of in-between period where they did their best to stay away from the cameras. They were pretty incognito. We spotted them out and about, but we didn't really know what was going to come next. And now here they are walking on red carpets talking about, the place their relationship has been. So it's been a total 180 if you think about it. Avery, what are your thoughts on that bit of advice from Matt, especially referencing Rachel's parents? I feel like that is a real compliment.
I totally agree. I think that's actually some really good advice. He said he didn't have the best advice, but that's some very great advice, especially given that it's Rachel's parents, and it's almost like foreshadowing that he does want to be with her long term if he's looking to her parents for like relationship advice, since they've been in a very long marriage. And as we know, their relationship has been very unique. It's been hard, but now it seems very smooth sailing. They seem super inseparable, and like at this point, after all the media coverage they've gotten, I feel like they're like B plus A-list celebrities. So it's just awesome to see how far they've come.
Yeah, Zachary, I feel like we've talked about this a lot. Like, are they going to make it long term? Is this going to be a possibility? And kind of where I'm sitting now, it's like if you can get through all of the bumps in the road that these two have gotten to with literally all eyes on you while you stumble through those moments, I don't know. I'm starting to think that they really might be, against all odds, kind of one of Bachelor Nation's long-term success stories. What are your thoughts?
I mean, is it safe to say that they're Bachelor Nation royalty? I mean, at this point, they look so hot together. And back to that photo, Matt in that suit, like, he looks like such a stud with that, like, plaid suit. And Rachel looks amazing as well. I know we have to bring this up, though. That beard has got to go. Like, fans have been, like, starting major tweets and, like, petitions online to get his beard out of here. And I don't know what it's going to take, Matt, but shave your beard. I just don't love it. But other than that, I mean, they look really hot together. I'm actually kind of obsessed with them, like, all of a sudden. And I really hope that they make it down the aisle and that I finesse my way to that wedding, because Lord knows I will try and get an invite to that wedding. I don't know how it will happen, but don't be surprised if I'm there.
Oh my goodness. Well, I will cross my fingers for the wedding and for, of course, your attendance, Zachary. You guys, if you are tuning in live with us, hop in the chat and let us know your thoughts on Matt and Rachael, because it has obviously been a roller coaster ride to get here. You guys have all been along for the ride as well, so we want to know your thoughts. And if you are just joining us live for the very first time, make sure you subscribe to our channel, make sure you ring the bell, so we can keep you updated on Bachelor Nation 24/7. With that being said, we have to move on and talk about another sort of Bachelor Nation royalty, elite, successful couple club member. I'm clearly making that up as we go. But Zach Clark just reflected on his Bachelorette journey. He took to his Twitter to share that it was the 1-year anniversary of when he left for the Bachelorette. He wrote to fans saying, quote, "Total insanity. 1 year ago today, I was ripping out to Palm Springs to go on the Bachelorette. Shooter shoot, glad I shot, met some incredible humans and learned a lot about life / myself, grateful." And then I have to say, as sweet as that was, what I actually like even more is his sister responded to the tweet with a screenshot she took of her final text exchange with Zach before he left for the show. And she wrote, "You know I gotta come with the receipts." Their text thread says, "I'm out, love you all, see you on the flip side." She wished him good luck, and then he said, "Thank you, God's plan." Now, first of all, I feel like it's kind of crazy, you guys, that it has been a year. I mean, time absolutely flies. But also, Zachary, I just have to know your thoughts on this text thread, because to me, not that I ever really doubted that Zach was there for the right reasons, but he seemed to be in the headspace of like, I'm gonna go see what the universe has in store for me. Maybe it's love, maybe it's not. Like, that little text just absolutely warmed my heart. What was your take on it?
It seems like he got this text like an hour before the producers took his phone, and he obviously was really nervous going into The Bachelorette. He doesn't seem like someone that likes the spotlight or that likes to be on camera, but he really did shoot his shot, which I really love the pun, and he won. He got Tayshia, and I think that the reason he and Tayshia ended up together is because he really just was going into the show to be himself, and you can see in that text message, he wasn't going on the show because he was a fan of the show or because he wanted the fame or attention, and he's also proved that after. He really just went into the show for an experience and to possibly meet the love of his life, so I'm so glad that him and Tayshia found each other because I think they're a great pair. Side note, I would have loved to see Tayshia and Zach on a double date on The Bachelorette with like Katie and whoever she chose. Obviously, we just had the Caitlyn and Jason double date, which was also amazing. Love them too. But I would love to see a little bit more of Tayshia and Zach's relationship. But I also really respect that Zach is super private, and you know, Tayshia is just such a queen. I mean, Tayshia has such that star quality. So I just have to throw that out there, even though you asked about Zach.
No, we love Tayshia. And you know what? If I remember correctly, I definitely think we saw some Instagrams of him visiting her while she was working. So I think at the time we just assumed, based on the way they were like positioning it, it was just like a couple catching up, spending some time together. But never say never, Zachary. You may actually get that double date or something from him this season, which would be super fun. Avery, I know you and I mean, we talked Tayshia season every single week. We liked Zach. We've said it before, I feel like they are such a solid couple. But even just coming off of our Matt and Rachael discussion, we're happy for them. They're in a great place. These two are just like way up here. I feel like right now they are sort of the star couple of Bachelor Nation. What do you think?
Completely agree. I just feel like no one compares to Zach and Tayshia. They are just doing it right. And we've talked about this before. We don't see them as consistently in the media as we do other couples, but that seems to be a very good thing, because when we do, we still see how solid they are and how great of a couple they are. And I just love how Zach is more of a private guy, and Tayshia, like we said, she's a star. She's definitely more in the spotlight, but we could see this being like the perfect balance. And every time I do get an update on them and see them come together, they just seem better than ever. So no complaints about them, just cannot wait to see more of them.
Yeah, I totally agree. Very excited to see where their journey goes. You guys, we want to know your thoughts. Were you rooting for Zach and Tayshia during her season? Do you still think she should have ended up with somebody else? Let us know in the chat. At the end of the show, we're going to try to get to all of your comments and all of your questions because, of course, we want to know your thoughts. We're going to move on now from those two because we actually have a very exciting Paradise update. We now know that 4 more of Katie's guys will be in Paradise. So we're going to get Connor the Cat, Trey, James, and Aaron. And along with this announcement, ABC also gave us sort of our very first actual teaser footage from the season. It is brief, but it's exciting, you guys. Let's try to roll this clip so we can watch this as well.
And say hello to paradise.
What's up, you guys? Hi.
Premieres Monday, August 16th on ABC.
So again, it's brief. It's just a small little tease, but I feel like before the other teaser they released was just like some flip-flops in the sand. This is our first moment. I think that's Connor there hugging Jasenia. We see the cast on the beach. It feels like it's really finally like happening. Paradise is right around the corner. Let's talk about, obviously, a lot of hearts were broken in Bachelor Nation this week when Connor was sent home. I have to say I am thrilled to have him in Paradise, but we're getting all 4 of them. So, Avery, are you excited about Connor? Are you excited about all 4? Anyone you wish wasn't there? I mean, how are you feeling?
Yes, I'm excited about Connor, Aaron, and Trey. James, I don't really care that much about. Sorry, James. But I think the 3 out of the 4 are the perfect people for Paradise just because mainly Connor was so likable. Everyone wants to see more of him. It's sad to see him go, but I'm happy he gets this chance again. And Trey and Aaron were just so dramatic, so that means they're basically meant for Paradise. I mean, Trey and Aaron were always in the drama, always stirring the pot, and that's what Paradise is about. So I'm excited to see them continue that in Paradise.
Yeah, and Zachary, you and I talked about the fact that there were a lot of rumors that Connor, was going to end up in Paradise, that we hoped he would get a second chance. Now that it's official, how do you feel about the news? Excited? More Aaron, more James, more Trey? Does that excite you at all?
I mean, I have opinions on all 4 of them, so let's just start with Connor the Cat, because I only know him as Connor the Cat, so I don't know where his cat costume was, but he should have showed up to Bachelor in Paradise with a cat costume, so I'm truly disappointed, because I remember when Alexis Waters was like the dolphin shark, she showed up to Paradise with like a dolphin shark costume, so kind of disappointed that Connor the Cat didn't show up with a cat costume. As far as Aaron, I could not stand him pretty much the entire season because he was just always calling people out for no reason and just like trying to make everyone the villain when in reality, if anyone wasn't there for the right reasons, it might have been you, Aaron. But over time, I became very obsessed with Aaron and kind of became to appreciate him. It's been a bit of a plot twist. The past couple of weeks, I've been Team Aaron. He's so... I don't know if it's the memes, because Fiona, we have talked about this. The memes of Aaron are so funny. They're like, Aaron is going to tell us who to hate every single week, and we're just going to listen to him. So I am so happy he's going to be in Paradise. I mean, he also is really hot. I mean, kind of a little bit of a tool, but he's the hottest one out of the 4. James, I hope he shows up in a box, as that would be very on brand for him. I don't know. I'm on the same page with you, Avery. Not a fan of him. I felt like he kind of bullied and harassed Hunter last week, and it was just kind of desperate. So not a super fan of James, but I do think we need his muscles in Paradise, because there's always that like one corny cliche guy with like those huge muscles. So James will be good for that. And then Trey was just kind of like a mini Aaron. He kind of followed Aaron around like a puppy dog, calling guys out all season. So I'm here for Trey for the drama, but I don't think that he's going to find love this season. But if he was going to find love, I would predict that Trey would find it with Jasenia.
Interesting.
I just ship it.
Okay, so here, that's actually going to take me straight to my next question, because I know it's super early days, but these guys, this group of guys actually does have, some differences in personality. We do have a little bit of a, I don't know if we'd call Aaron and Trey a bromance, but they definitely formed a bond on Katie's season. So I think it's going to be interesting to have them on the beach. We know who the girls are going to be, at least the initial women. So Avery, Who do you think maybe you could kind of sort of see these guys ending up with? Do you have any super early predictions for any of them?
Well, for some reason, Zach, I agree with you with the Trey and Jasenia. I don't know why. I could just kind of see it now that you say that. But Connor, I could see him going for Abigail, but I don't think I could say the same about her. He just seems like, obviously a very genuine and sweet guy, and she is that as well. But I don't know if that's necessarily her type. And as far as Aaron goes, it's hard to say because we didn't really see him get into any sort of romantic relationship with Katie. It was mainly just with the guys. So I don't really see him doing that on Paradise either. Maybe he'll have a couple flings with God knows who, but I'm sure he's just there to make more guy friends.
And certainly we will be getting more Aaron memes. I mean, Zachary and I, you guys have been dying over them. You've got to search him on Twitter because people are saying the funniest stuff. And basically, he's going to step into the role of beach patrol is sort of the assumption. Maybe he never makes a connection, but he is going to certainly be keeping people on task, not allowing romances to happen that he does not think are above board. I don't know. It might make for some entertainment, but I'm kind of with you both. The Trey and Jasenia thing, who knows? I would absolutely die if that ends up because it's just based on your gut feelings and I see it. You're both onto something. Moving away from romance though and back to drama, Carl is going to be there, you guys, which I honestly kind of forgot about because I wasn't excited when we heard it being announced. Obviously, he had a very short-lived moment on Katie's season, but if I remember correctly, Hall Monitor Aaron had something to do with his exit. So, Zachary, do you think we're going to see a continuation of, the drama from Katie's season now that all of these guys are going to be back on the beach together? What are your thoughts?
I mean, I think it's up to Aaron. Aaron is always the guy that calls someone out, and then he always has his peanut gallery around him, like James and Trey and whoever else. So I think if Aaron wants to start a problem and call out Connor for not being here for the right reasons, I bet you Aaron can convince the entire beach that Carl's not here for the right reasons. Aaron does have that effect on people. We've seen it on Katie's season. He's called out villains every single week, and it's worked. I mean, Aaron single-handedly eliminated Carl, Thomas, Cody, Hunter. I mean, no one can do it like Aaron. So if Aaron already has a problem with Carl, Carl's gone. But I think if Carl wants to stay, he needs to go up to Aaron, who is the ringleader. I just give Aaron so much praise and tell him that, he's here for the right reasons. I don't think that any girl realistically is going to give Carl a rose. If the guys have the power the first week, then Carl will have like an extra week to kind of make connections. But if the girls have the power the first week, I think Carl is going to be out of here. I just don't think that Bachelor Nation is the show for him. Avery, are you on the same page with me here?
Absolutely. Like you said, especially if Aaron's there, I feel like the girls will even listen to him. And we've already just seen him on Katie's season. It's still fresh. Like, he can't get away with what he just did. So I feel like it will carry over into Paradise, and I don't see any of the girls wanting him. I would love to see villains pair up together. So maybe Victoria and Carl, Victoria and Thomas. I think that would be super entertaining and cause a lot of ruckus. But Carl, I feel like there's no hope for him unless he comes in as an absolute changed man and immediately makes amends with every guy who's there on Katie's season.
Oh my goodness. Victoria and Carl, Avery.
Or Tammy.
Or Tammy. Yes, you are blowing my mind. Okay. We do have to talk about Queen Victoria because, obviously she was controversial on Matt James' season. Some people really didn't want her in Paradise. Some people really did. We know she is going to be one of the original cast members for the season. And since that announcement came out, she has been receiving a lot of hateful comments about her appearance. Since, when we're looking at her cast photo from Matt's season and now the one from Paradise, she's obviously blonde. She definitely has a different look overall. And she took to her TikTok and wrote, "To everyone hating on my new look," and then shared a video message to those haters. I do want to watch a clip of this, you guys, because it is so classic Victoria, but I am really curious to get your thoughts on it. I think there's no denying that she definitely does look different, but of course we all know that doesn't give anyone, a license to hate on somebody, right? You don't get to hate on anyone for any reason, even if they went on to Matt James's season and did not act the nicest. It looks like we're having some trouble finding this clip. So before we even watch it, Zachary, oh wait, no, we got it. Okay. Let's roll the clip and then I'm going to talk to you, Zachary.
Okay.
Hit him with a plot twist anytime you want, sis. It's your life. And shout out to my Botox girl. And I looked good both ways. Don't get it twisted.
Period.
So, yeah.
Period.
This is what I wanted to ask you, Zachary, because I know you were a fan of Victoria coming to Paradise. You wanted her there. Mm-hmm. I know all of us, of course, do not condone any hate. And I have to say, I think this video message from Victoria is one of the most easy moments of her for me to support because she's owning her new look. She looks good. She's thriving. We're on board for this. What are your thoughts on her sort of Paradise attitude, though? Is she going to be a changed woman or is she going to be the same Victoria? Because I know you like her.
Yeah, I mean, she's my girl. I love her. But put the picture back with the before and after because Queen Victoria actually addresses exactly what the differences are on her Instagram. She says that she dyed her hair blonde, she got lip injections, her lips were overlined in this photo, and then we also know from the other Victoria who called out Bachelor in Paradise for airbrushing and face tuning their photos, they probably did the same thing for all of the contestants, that making Queen Victoria different than Goddess Victoria, which is what apparently she's going to be rebranding herself as. So here is Victoria Paul, who called out Bachelor in Paradise on her Instagram for that airbrush and then shared the picture of her with no makeup on. A lot of fans were actually coming for Victoria Paul because they said that all of her Instagram photos are like that. So I have no idea. But Queen Victoria, she just had a few little tweaks and she owns them and she admits them. I think she has a good attitude about it. She's also shared a lot of memes on her Instagram story. She even referred to herself as Hannah Montana, because like Miley with the brown hair and then Hannah with the blonde hair. So I think Queen Victoria is going in with a good attitude. I think if you are the villain on this show, you need to just embrace it. And then we will love you for it because at least you're embracing that you were that bold personality character. If Queen Victoria she doesn't take herself too seriously, and that is why I really like her. I'm looking forward to seeing her on Paradise. But Avery, are you is there anyone you think that she is gonna get with, or do you think that her changes are actually that big of a deal? I'm really curious. Let's dive into this.
Well, no. When I first saw this, I could care less what she got done. I don't care that she looks different, and props to her for owning it. But it was the tone of the video for me. I feel like there was still that attitude. And I feel like even last week on our live, I was like, maybe she'll come back as a changed woman. She's not going to be the villain. She's going to drop that act. But based off this video, it's looking like it's the same Victoria, which is, great for being herself. But I don't agree with you, Zach, in terms of people embracing the villain as long as they embrace being the villain, because it's Bachelor Nation. If you continue to be the villain, people are going to continue to hate you. So it's just her tone, which kind of got me. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way, gave me flashbacks, but I'll still give her the benefit of the doubt. We'll see once she steps onto Paradise how she's going to act. But, I think she looks good both ways. But I also don't see her getting with anyone.
Well, Avery, you and I talked about Victoria a lot, right? All of that season. And I think by the end of it, we were truly a little exhausted. And it felt like, we talked about this a lot, there are villains every season. But there was a difference between drama in that house and just truly toxic energy. And that was talked about a lot in Matt's season. So my big worry is, I love drama. I love a villain. I like a big personality. She checks a lot of those boxes. But a lot of Matt's season had to be dedicated to the 16 different arguments that were all simultaneously up, and there was so much drama that I think it really was almost overwhelming. So my fear, and I'm curious if you feel the same, is I don't want her to come on the beach and then have beef with everyone there to the point that we have to kind of pay attention to relationships and kind of keep up with everyone Victoria is in a fight with again. That will bum me out. if that is what happens. What about you?
See, I want the opposite. I want her to come on the beach and have beef with absolutely everyone. I want to see that on TV. But you know what? Honestly, guys, I do respect your opinions, and everyone is just going to have to let us know in the comments, because I am firm Queen Victoria's stan. Avery and Fiona are a little bit more skeptical. So just let us know in the comments where you guys stand, because we're just not going to agree on Queen Victoria.
And listen, it's going to be a lot of
no,
great
Zach,
TV.
I also agree. Like, I love when she comes on and we'll just argue with a bunch of people. That would be really entertaining. But the issue with Victoria specifically was she became like the focus point of the whole show, and she was taking away from like everyone else's narrative and like was suddenly the main character. And it was just nonsense that we didn't care about. Like, it wasn't funny anymore. It wasn't fun. It was just kind of annoying and rude. So hopefully we get the best of both worlds in the sense where it's like funny drama, not so much hurtful and toxic, and to the point where she becomes the main focus and isn't even coupled up with anyone. But I guess we'll just have to see.
We certainly will
see.
just have to wait and see. You guys, of course, like Zachary said, let us know in the chat. She is clearly a polarizing character. You either love her or you hate her. So let us know your thoughts and feelings. We want to hear them all. But we do have to move on because, Zachary, I told you we would talk Katie's season of The Bachelorette, and it is finally that time. We are down to the final 7 guys, which is absolutely crazy. And next week is truly going to be that make or break week for Katie's contestants. We did get a new teaser at the end of this week's episode. It promises a lot of drama. It promises more tears. Of course, there is going to be romance. We love to do our best to break these teasers down and try to find some sort of clues. So I want to look at a couple of clips from the trailer and try to sort of analyze some of what might be going on here, because it looks like we're going to be seeing potentially another Greg date, which is interesting. And
Yay.
Mike might be getting a one-on-one. He is, of course, one of the guys that is left around that hasn't had a one-on-one yet. And I think it's Blake who says it in this trailer video as well. Until you've had a one-on-one, you are behind. So if Mike gets a one-on-one this week, it's obviously going to be a pretty big deal. All right, let's check out this clip.
Oh my God!
I think that I found the love of my life.
I'd rather have my heart broken 100 times over than break somebody's heart.
So, the thing we got to talk about first, and Zachary, you and I talked about this already a little bit. Avery, I'm going to ask you for your take now. Are Greg and Katie getting one-on-one round 2? Because when Zachary and I talked about this, we were looking at the footage and we felt like it looks kind of one-on-one vibey. So what do you think?
I think so. We already know he's ahead of the game, and Blake even said it. If you haven't gotten a one-on-one by now, you're behind. Greg has already gotten a one-on-one. He's gotten the first impression rose. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets another one-on-one because, as we know, Katie does what she wants, and he's what she wants. So it just looks like they're going to have another making out in the rain moment, which I love. The only other thing this could be is if they completely ran away from the group and decided to do that, which I feel like didn't happen. So I definitely think he gets another one-on-one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say that Zachary and I are with you. I want to dive into the Mike of it all because he has not gotten a one-on-one date yet. He seems to be an incredibly sweet guy, but there are, of course, some skeptics out there, myself included, that don't know if long-term he and Katie have enough in common that it could really work. But like, if we look at them here, Zachary, they look so happy. How do you think this one-on-one's going to go?
Yeah, they do look so happy, but Mike whispered in her ear, did you guys see that? He said, I'd rather get my heart broken than break someone else's heart. And that is just foreshadowing because Katie is about to break your heart, Mike. There is no way that he is going to hometowns. He is so far behind all of the other guys, and I just don't see him and Katie working out. I feel like they're two completely different people. I don't think they align. I don't think that they would have like a solid foundation or a friendship, and it has nothing to do with him being a virgin and her being sex positive. I just don't see their connection, and I feel like he's just a little bit more reserved in life, and she really has put herself out there, and I just don't see them meshing long term. So I think that this is foreshadowing for Mike. I think he is writing his own story, And I think that it's only, his hours are numbered left on this show. I think he'll be eliminated next week.
Well, and we've seen, I believe, I mean, you guys, there are so many promos, so many trailers, but I feel like it was the mid-season promo from about a week ago. I think we talked about this. In similar outfits, we see Katie in white here. I feel like we have seen clips of Katie in white. Granted, it could be something different or similar. That certainly could be that outfit, though, where she is crying. So I'm kind of with you, Zachary, on that foreshadowing. It's going to be very, very interesting. He's been a sweet guy. I think he's won over a lot of people in Bachelor Nation. I don't think people would be mad to see him in Paradise, but I don't know that he is headed to the top 4. Shifting gears, though, I want to talk frontrunner. Obviously, Blake has really emerged triumphant. He came in late. They had that one-on-one. They had the makeout moment this week. He has been steadily on a pretty solid path with Katie. But from the mid-season promo to this week's promo, we're starting to see that the tides may be turning for him. He may be having some doubts. Let's watch a clip from Blake in this promo as well, because he says something a little telling. Let's see here.
I told her I'm not in love with her.
This is so hard. There's this possibility of sending home the wrong person.
I'm losing it.
So I told her I'm not in love with her. Now, obviously, my younger sister's a Bachelorette super fan. She wants to give Blake the benefit of the doubt. She has a theory that the sentence actually is, I told her I'm not in love with her, but I'm falling in love with her, right? So obviously, creative editing could be at play here, but based on all of the different clips we've seen of Blake in these promos, we've seen him sitting down with his sister. We know he's basically going to make it to hometowns. And we know kind of sort of maybe that he's going to start having doubts and may not be able to get to where Katie needs him to be fast enough. Avery, do you think there's a chance Blake could make the wrong turn and start to, remove himself from the game, not be as strong of a leader in the pack? What do you think?
No, I do not. I actually think your sister's onto something with that theory. He says, I told her I'm not in love with her, but that does not mean he is not falling in love with her, and that does not mean he can't be in love with her. I think he's just keeping it real just because of how strong and real their relationship is. And I only think he's having doubts because of how strong the relationship is and because there's other men involved. But I think all those doubts and questions he's having is going to still lead him to further success and furthering the relationship. I don't think he'll back out at all, because from what I've seen, he's very in it, and so is she, and he's clearly a front runner. So I think that's what just comes with it, is having these doubts just to get over them and potentially grow stronger as a couple.
Zachary, do you think that even if Blake starts to get a little nervous or maybe scared because their connection is so strong, that Katie believes in it enough, that she'll want to get him to where he needs to be, as opposed to be turned off by it and immediately kind of kick him to the curb? Where do you think her head will be in all of this?
Yeah, and I also love what your sister said. I don't know where she is, but we need her on this panel. That really makes a lot of sense, because I was nervous, because it's just Blake, you should not come in here if you're not all in. Especially how he came in midway through the season. No, he has to be all in. Otherwise, he could have went to Paradise. But I think it's normal that Blake might be getting some reservations, because as I just mentioned, he did come in halfway through the season, and now it's already hometowns, and everything did happen so fast. So I think maybe he just needed a second to kind of slow down and recuperate and really think about why he's here and the end result. And maybe seeing his family at hometowns will give him that, because Blake and Katie have the hots for each other. They have a very strong connection. I think we can all agree that Blake and Greg are probably the two frontrunners at this point. So I hope that Blake really is just honest with himself and gives Katie 100%, because at the end of the day, we want Katie to get that proposal. So I'm rooting for Katie and Blake, and then I'm rooting for Greg for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we see this picture here of Blake's sister. This is from a different promo. And he and her are sitting down and having that conversation about, I think his sister is basically, and I'm paraphrasing you guys, but encouraging him to tell Katie how he really feels. And she's pointing out, what if somebody else tells her first? What if you miss your chance because, you're not being proactive enough? So it is very interesting. I also think there's something a little bit wild detailed about the fact that they showed the sister clips so early on. It makes me think that maybe Blake isn't going to go all the way to final 2 or something, because it was kind of a big giveaway to let us know when they did that he was going to be in hometowns. But you know what? They always keep us guessing. They always keep us on our toes, which I think is why we all love this show so much. ABC did just release week 7, so that'll be next week's episode synopsis. And we're going to try to break this down for some more clues of what's to come. It is a little cheesy, you know, they kind of do that whole, I mean, he's not with us anymore, but Chris Harrison drama to sell the episode, but sometimes we can pick out some big clues. So let's kick things off. The synopsis says, quote, "With hometown dates looming, Brendan and Mike feel the pressure of getting a one-on-one date as the only two yet to have coveted solo time with Katie. Does she choose one of them to join her for a romantic recreation of her beloved hometown?" So clearly they're going to be doing something that symbolizes where Katie's come from. We did see some Mike footage that looked like a one-on-one. We've talked about this a little, Zachary, but let's bring him up again. Brendan is so far behind in the game. Even if he got a one-on-one this week, can he catch
who's
up?
Brendan?
What do you think?
Who is Brendan? I don't know who that is. Avery, do you know who that is? I literally don't know who that is.
Never heard of
Do you
it.
have any idea? Fiona, I'm sorry, I don't know who Brendan is.
Brendan, I loved this
kidding,
meme, you guys.
kidding.
No, I know, but a lot of people thought that Brendan and James, like, you guys are being silly, but people genuinely thought Brendan and James were the same person because that is how irrelevant he has been. I just don't see what he does from here.
Yeah, I don't know if Brendan is even going to have a one-on-one date with Katie, but we didn't see him on that group date shot, so I think he might get a one-on-one, or he might go to Katie's hotel room possibly, because we know someone's going to her hotel room to find out if he should still be here. Because at this point, Brendan, you know at this point, like, you're probably not going to be with Katie in the long run if you feel that behind, so you might as well just send yourself home instead of bringing your whole family into it.
That is a good point. All right, moving right along here in the synopsis, it says, later, 4 men join her on an artistic exploration inspired by New Mexico's own Georgia O'Keeffe, and one surprising gent studies the art of cuddling with our Bachelorette. So Avery, in the promo we saw her cuddling with Mike. It feels like a lot of this could be applying to Mike, but maybe not. I mean, do we think this sounds like a group date activity? What do you make of this?
This does sound like a group date activity, but it also could go on with the story that Mike gets the one-on-one. It definitely looks like that's what's going on here, the whole cuddling scene, and then he whispers to her. But like you said, Zach, what he said is almost foreshadowing what's going to happen, and I could see her, whether this is a one-on-one date or a group date, maybe just sending him home there, because he's a nice guy, he's great, but we don't see their connection, probably because it isn't there, and his time is coming soon to probably depart. And Brendan, I'm sorry, he's just lucky he's even here.
Literally.
Still. It's what, week 7, and we're questioning who someone is. Props to him for making it by for this long, but yeah, his time is coming to an end as well.
Well, I definitely agree with you. This last little bit of the synopsis I think is the most interesting to me. It says, quote, usually so confident in trusting her gut, Katie is faced with the hardest rose ceremony thus far and finds herself second-guessing her decision. Now, here is what's interesting. If you guys remember this gorgeous red dress she's wearing, we actually see her standing outside by herself very briefly in this week's promo crying in this dress. So it feels like there may be some last minute panic about who to send home. Maybe she regrets her decision. We've seen that shot of her running and, jumping into Andrew's arms. There is a lot kind of pointing us in the direction of she might make a decision and then kind of change her mind this week. What are your thoughts, Zachary? Where do you think this could be going?
I love a good meltdown on The Bachelorette, especially when it's at a rose ceremony. That's always the most dramatic part of the episode. So I don't know. It seems like somebody might send themselves home, because why else would she be so upset unless she went for a... At this point, we can kind of assume that Mike and Brendan are probably the two on the totem pole. But then there's also still Michael A, Justin, Andrew S, Greg, and Blake, who she has really strong connections with. So I don't even know which of those 5 guys would go home, because it seems like they all are really into her. But yeah, this shot right here, we kind of established it might be Brendan because of his sweater, but it's going to be really dramatic, and I can't wait to see what happens. This is the best part of the season, as I just mentioned earlier. Like, this is when things get so juicy and the connections are so real. So I'm really looking forward to the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it again. If that is Brendan in that sweater and he is self-eliminating, then that just makes the rose ceremony even more difficult. Who do you think, Avery, will nab the final rose? Like, who is going? I think it's very obvious that Blake and Greg are totally safe, maybe even Michael A, but like, it's that final 2 slot. It's that final rose. Who's going to be the one who secures their spot? Out of the guys who kind of have to fight for it, I guess is what I'm thinking. Who do you think is going to fight for it and make her think, okay, actually, yeah, you're going to come to hometowns?
Well, I could also see Michael A getting cold feet because hometowns are right around the corner, and he has a kid. So that just plays into a lot. Maybe he realizes like he just needs to go home to his kid and this isn't right, and maybe that's why she's having a panic attack. But I mean, tensions are high because hometowns are right around the corner. We know Blake's solid, Greg's solid, Andrew seems pretty solid, and I feel like after Justin's date, he's definitely a keeper, so it's hard to say. I definitely feel like the showing up at the door is Brendan probably questioning where he stands with Katie, or he's going to eliminate himself, and I think it's safe to say Mike will go. But when it comes down to the bottom 2, I feel like it's obvious that it might be Greg and Blake, but my theory is that something is going to happen with Greg, because I've seen in multiple interviews now, Katie is talking about someone who is worse than Thomas, and we haven't seen that yet, and we've just seen a lot of tears in the previews, so I'm anticipating something bad to happen with him in the near future, but I just don't know what it will be.
Wow. Well, that is
Drops
certainly
bomb.
something. Oh my goodness. This is, you are so right, Zachary, the best part of the season. Things are going to be intense from here on out. We know the decisions just get harder and harder and harder at this point. Honestly, the boys, they've had their share of drama, but like that roast was so lame because they kind of like each other and have a nice mutual respect and support going on. But I do think this is the point in the season where that, you know, starts to turn because the relationships get way more serious. We're in for a lot of exciting stuff, you guys, of course. We want to know your thoughts on everything we've talked about so far in today's live. It is that time in the show. We're going to get to the chat, look at your questions, your comments, maybe address your concerns. Of course, there is always so much going on in Bachelor Nation, so if you guys have anything else you want to chat about that we did not bring up on today's show, you can feel free to send it in there as well. And reminder, if you are just joining us live for the very first time, or if you tune in all the time and you're not already subscribed, make sure you do. Go ahead and ring the bell so we can keep you updated on all things Katie season, all things Paradise, all things Bachelor Nation all the time. Because I feel like every time we turn around, you guys, there is literally something new to talk about, which is crazy and entertaining. Why
Yes.
we are all here.
Bachelor Nation never sleeps, Fiona. Like, it literally just keeps going and going and going. And every single week, we're like, oh, it's a slow news day. It's never a slow news day in Bachelor Nation. So we always are here to talk about it. And honestly, this season is really good, and it's almost over. And then we have Paradise. Like, they're not even skipping a week. So it's literally going to go from Katie's finale right to Paradise, August 16th. And it's going to be so good, and I can't wait. But we're also going to get the Men Tell All in a couple weeks. So Avery or Fiona, do you guys have any thoughts on who's going to host the Men Tell All?
Oh my God, with all of the hosting stuff up in the air, I hadn't even considered Men Tell All. Avery, do you have any ideas? Oh my goodness, Zachary, another question mark. My God.
It's literally just blank in my mind because it just doesn't feel right if Caitlyn and Tayshia host that. They could have Emmanuel come on and do that again, but it's kind of like, why? But then who else can do as great of a job? I don't know. And they had to have already filmed it by now, right?
I think they might be filming it like in the next week or like this week or next week. Like they're filming it very soon.
It would have
so
to be like
we
this
should
week.
know. Well, I think we're going to have to get a trailer for the Men Tell All like after next week's episode or after the week after that, because it should be the week after Hometowns. And I was kind of thinking it could be Wells, maybe. Fiona, can you see that?
So
David
I've been,
Spade,
as we've
possibly?
been talking, I've been trying to think, like, part of me wonders if it just is going to be Caitlyn and Tayshia because they're the hosts of the season, and when Chris was the host of the season, he did Men Tell All, but I kind of agree with you. I feel like that setting doesn't suit them as well as when they're hosting, for the most part, from what we've seen in Katie's season, I love it because it feels a lot more just like girl gang. They're mentoring Katie. They have very few moments that feel very formal, right? And Men Tell All, something like that, just feels a lot more formal. And as much as I'm loving them this season, it's not the formal moments, right, that I'm loving. Those always feel a little bit out of place. So I don't know. Part of me thinks it might be them, and we'll see how it goes. And maybe it will be odd, and maybe they'll kick it out of the park. But part of me is wondering if they could bring in someone like a Wells, or maybe even someone who's going to be a guest host, like you mentioned, David Spade in Paradise, to kind of introduce that person to the family. What do you think, Avery? Did you get an idea?
I could see it being Nick Viall. Actually,
Yeah.
now that we're discussing this, I feel like he'd be great at that. He's been on the show, he's been in all of their positions, and he's been the Bachelor. He has this podcast that's very popular. I feel like he'd kind of ask the right questions. Men Tell All, they kind of have to be grilled. And like you said, I don't see Caitlyn and Tayshia doing that, but I see Nick doing that, and he's very widely known in Bachelor Nation, so that seems like it could be a fit.
Yeah,
I can see Nick doing it.
He did appear on Katie's season, so he did get to know some of the guys during that group date. He led a very serious group date, where they had to really go there and get emotional, and he handled it really well. So I love that idea, Avery. I know you mentioned Wells, Zachary. We're big Wells fans over here. I think he could do it, but I also feel like, I'm thinking back to, we covered this a little bit ago, he discussed all of the excitement and rumors, that, maybe he'll be the next Chris Harrison. And he kind of said, like, I don't even know that that's really the role for me. I like being the bartender. I like being in the mix of things. So I kind of wonder if for the same reasons, he may shy away from a more formal hosting position. Could you see that, Zachary, based on what he said? Or are we just holding out?
Yeah, but I also feel like you're just hosting the Men Tell All. It's not like you're going to host The Bachelor. Like, it just might be like a little Men Tell All host, kind of like what Emmanuel did. But I think that Wells would be really good if he just hosts Paradise. And then we know that Caitlyn and Tayshia are rumored to be hosting Michelle's season as well. So maybe they can host The Bachelorette every single year, and then Wells could host Paradise every year. And then they can bring someone completely new in to just host The Bachelor every year and kind of separate it versus having one person host everything all year round, because that puts so much pressure on that one person to host everything. And I think that's why they had Caitlyn and Tayshia come in together, so that it wasn't so much like media like on top of them for being that one person. Maybe they make a mistake. Like, I think it'd be better if they separate it. So I think it's possible we're going to get a new host completely for The Bachelor, and then that person might also host Men Tell All this season. I just hope they don't cancel it because they can't find a host, because I look forward to the Men Tell All every single season. And we're going to need After the Final Rose too to find out where Katie is with whoever she chooses, if she's engaged. So lots of exciting things coming in Bachelor Nation, and lots of changes as well.
Yes, of course. All right, we do have something here from Terrence. He says, I'm glad to see that Matt and Rachael are doing well. Matt deserves happiness, and so does Rachael. Despite the mistakes Rachael has made in the past, I think Rachael's great. I have to say, Terrence, I agree with you. I think Rachael has shown a lot of growth, and I said this way back when it was all happening. I think it was admirable. It definitely took her some time, and there were some bumps in the road, but once she took accountability, it felt like she was at least genuine in her desire to grow and put in the work and do better. So I think that Matt giving her a second chance and proving that they can be happy together is a strong enough signal, at least for me, that whatever she privately needed to do to prove to herself and to Matt that she is the person he fell in love with, then I'm on board. I'm all here for it. I feel like you guys agree. What do you think, Avery?
Yeah, totally. All of that had to happen in order for them to get to where they are today. So if you're not happy to see them happy at this rate, like, okay, that's just cruel. You know, they got past the biggest bumps in the road and they had to do it under the public eye. And now that they're past that, they're happy. So all we can be is happy for them. And I'm really happy to just see them finally reach this point because, you know, first we saw all the chaos, then we saw them kind of like just not trying to be in the media at all, and now they're stepping out together. They're basically inseparable, and every time we do see them, it's something positive now, which is great because it totally did a 180.
Yeah, and they look so hot together as well. So we love Matt and Rachael, and I feel like people have really moved on from all of the frenzy things that had happened because Matt and Rachael clearly have worked things out and moved on behind the scenes. So I'm looking forward to seeing where the relationship goes, if they ever get engaged, if they get married, if they have kids. I mean, we know that Rachael moved to New York. I think she's been living in Matt's apartment with Tyler Cameron as well, and his girlfriend. We've talked about the four of them going on double dates together and stuff, and Rachael has been all around town. So it would be nice if we can get like a Matt and Rachael appearance maybe on the Bachelor franchise. You know how sometimes they come in to like host a group date or something, just so like we can all like really start to embrace them because they had a really tough year.
They definitely did, yeah.
Oh my God, Ian. Ian is saying, is Zach still together with Tayshia? I don't know who Tayshia is. I don't know who Tayshia is. But I do know who Tayshia is, and I believe that Zach and Tayshia are still together. They just posted together recently. They were spotted together. We talked earlier in today's video about Zach kind of reminiscing on his journey to go to Palm Springs. So Zach and Tayshia are definitely still together. As far as this Tayshia girl, I don't know who she is. I don't want to know her. She seems like bad news. Avery, do you know Tayshia?
Who's Tayshia? No, I only know Tayshia, and they have been together for a year now. It's crazy to think that this all happened a year ago, but I'm glad they're basically more solid than ever. But Tayshia, she seems really sus. I don't know her. Hopefully Zach doesn't know her. I think that was just a little fluke.
Wait, you know who I actually shipped Tayshia with, though? Before we move on, Jessica, I actually shipped Tayshia with Brendan. I feel like they seem like a match made in heaven. Does anyone else see this?
Literally, because who are they?
I literally don't know. Avery, what is Jessica telling us?
Jessica said, do you guys think Blake will be the one? I think that there is a great possibility that he could be the one. Thus far, it's been pretty solid for him. You know, we saw him just show up with the boombox and comfort Katie. That was definitely another win for him. But like we did talk about in this live, we do see him start to question things and have a little doubts. But like I said, I think that's just a part of the process. You know, you got to question everything when you're going to get down on one knee and have an engagement at the end of this. But it's, in my opinion, it's looking very promising for him.
I think Blake could be the one. I don't know if he is the one, but I think he certainly could be. Like, I see their spark. I see the way they banter together. I definitely think they have chemistry. They haven't gone like super, super deep, but they've definitely had some more serious conversations. I just think that it's kind of in his hands. He can either play his cards right, if he is authentically, you know, there for the right reasons, all that jazz. And the way we've been giving him the benefit of the doubt so far, then yeah, he could totally walk away with her at the end of this. But as Avery teased, somebody out there might be even worse than Thomas. According to what Katie has said in some interviews, we're starting to see some doubts pop up with Blake. And we know that at this stage of the game, her feelings are serious enough for these guys that it is going to hurt if one of them, you know, pulled a 180 and decided to leave. So Blake is kind of like simultaneously the winner and like the new villain in my eyes. I'm super suspicious of him, and I also think they have a great bond and could totally go all the way. Do you see what I mean, Zachary?
I don't know if Blake is the villain. I mean, I feel like all the villains are gone now. I think Hunter was like the last person that was like called a villain. But you bring up an interesting point because every season, at least one person leaves. Sometimes like 2 or 3, especially towards the end. We see it a lot. And I don't think anyone has left this season on their own. So something dramatic is coming. Someone is definitely going to leave, and that is going to probably cause Katie's meltdown. But we've talked about these promos and stuff. I think she's going to have like 2 or 3 more meltdowns before the end of the season. So I don't know what they're about, but I'm looking forward to it.
I know. We definitely listen. We love a good meltdown. We love a lot of drama, but we certainly want Katie to walk away from this happy and in love, feeling like the journey was worth it. Of course, you guys, only time will tell. Those are all of the questions we have time for today, but have no fears. If we did not get to yours, just hop in the comments section and leave it down there for us. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be covering all things Bachelor Nation all the time here on Shared News. So make sure you subscribe, make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss out on any future coverage. As always, I am your host, Fiona Zaring, joined by the wonderful Avery Grooms and Zachary Reality. If you want to come say hi, be sure to check out our socials there on the screen. Thanks for tuning in live with us, you guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See ya.